All right, well, my name is Stephen Shirley. I'm a fine artist here at Street Smarts Gallery, and I have the front entrance wall as you walk into the gallery. And a little bit about me, I was in the Navy for, I went to college, played baseball, and went to the Navy and just decided to stay in 20 years and was able to retire, I guess, back in 2019. So retired in 2019. And then decided to become a fine artist about 3.5 years ago. And so my journey has kind of taken me different places, but for the most part, I taught myself how to paint the last 3 or 4 years I was in the Navy, for oil painting specifically. That's mostly what my work is. And I've always had the talent to do drawings, and as a kid in high school, good old Mr. Jordan, my high school art teacher, who's now director of the Route 66 Museum in Elk City, Oklahoma. That's where I grew up, Elk City, Oklahoma, born in Stillwater, and like I said, I went to college in Missouri and then joined the Navy, and then I circled back to Oklahoma, and just, I got this art gig. So I would say that drawing, is how I started out. Everybody starts out drawing, everybody starts out, with the easy stuff, and then at some point I got inspired by a few guys on YouTube when I was in the Navy, and I would go to work and do my Navy job, and then I would go home on the weekends when I was stationed in Bahrain the last 3 years that I was in the Navy, and just learn from them and do the old YouTube, press pause, okay, let me see how they mix that paint, let me see that brush stroke, and I kind of just fumbled along until I got out of the Navy to where I was able to do it full time. So now I'm a full-time artist. I live in Edmond with my family, my wife and my kid, and I have this great opportunity just to be creative all the time. What is my process like, and how do I choose something that I'm inspired to paint? I default to nature. For me, nature, being out in nature, seeing the sunsets and sunrises and the wildlife and the birds, specifically birds. I kind of, people keep calling me the bird man or something because I paint so many birds, but I just love nature. But I love so many different things about art. It's very frustrating. I know other artists probably struggle with this. It's very frustrating because you want to paint everything, but there's not enough time in life to paint everything. So you kind of got to narrow your focus and figure out what is the now. And what I've tried to set up is kind of a system similar to, I mentioned it in a magazine article one time where Stephen King wrote a book called On Writing. And he writes 4 hours a day, but he does it consistently every day. And it doesn't seem like that much time, but 3 months later, you've got a book. So I like to try to approach that with painting, that if I can just put myself in the seat every day and get a process going. So for instance, oil paintings, I kind of see things in 3s and 5s and 10s. So if I get inspired to paint a tree and I just can't get out of my head and it's just bothering me, I mean, it's literally up at the front of the line of just, I have to paint this. Usually that kind of bursts into a cluster of paintings. So for instance, I'm finishing up a tree series that has 3 trees. I just finished up a series, a storm series, which had 3 paintings. I just finished up a bird series, which had 3 snow paintings with birds. So I kind of think of things in clusters because I get so inspired on that subject matter. I do want to expand. We talked about with a couple of other artists earlier before this interview that I have a tendency to focus on nature and wildlife and landscapes, but I do want to expand to portraits. And so my next kind of adventure is going to be experimenting with different portraits for a couple shows coming up in the late summer and in the fall. So I love portraits, but I've never really approached portraits because I felt my talent wasn't good enough, and I feel like my talent and what I want to incorporate in my portraits is kind of melding, and I need practice. So time in the seat, and I'm going to try to knock out some portraits. So I kind of just navigate whatever I'm feeling at the time and what inspires me, because it's everywhere. As an artist, I think your lens, I think all artists' lenses are different, and they just walk the earth, and before you know it, something hit them over the head and they can't get it out of their head, and they have to express that and get it out into the world. And that's what I try to do as consistently as possible in my process, and while maintaining education along the way and keeping that plateau of quality of work, of there's lots of things to being an artist, the business side of it, and business cards and all the picadillos that go along with it. You know, trying to maintain that upward trend. You know, especially since I'm 3.5 years in, I've got a lot of catching up to do, and a lot of gray hairs coming in. So that's what I try to focus on, and I'm excited about my next project. What inspires me? What inspires me is literally everything. I've been quoted, you know, many times, even just yesterday, visiting another gallery, and one of the ladies in there said, "Hey, Steve, you're kind of a Renaissance man," because I think being an artist is all mediums. It's music, it's video, it's watercolor, it's oil. I just so happen to have had the opportunity, being in the Navy, lived 9 years overseas, to where I mean, the guys used to make fun of me, you know, when we'd have port visits, because I used to drag them to the art galleries and drag them to the museums the next day, right? And everybody's all tired, and we would go out and experience all the different museums all over the world. And so I just have a lot of input in my head of different ideas and styles that I want to accomplish, and I experiment a lot. I will try a more fine-tuned, hyper-realistic style, and then I'll loosen my brush strokes and try, you know, loosey-goosey. But when I was painting, and what I've been inspired in, you know, since I was a kid, was opening that Southwest art magazine, and just that kind of Western style art is really interesting to me, and that's kind of primarily what I focus on is oil painting, because I just love that you can just move paint around, and focusing on Western style art, and mostly wildlife, I would say. But I am interested in many other things that I want to get into, like photography. I just started a Instagram photography page, and you know, everybody has great aspirations in life, and I suppose eventually I would like to get a watercolor page and a drawing page going, and just kind of whatever I feel and paint in the present, which has been my 2025 mantra, and I've tried to carry it over to 2026, is that sometimes when you paint a painting, you might have this great inspiration, but you can't get to the painting until 3 to 6 months later, because you've stacked up, you know, a line of paintings for different shows that you're preparing for. So I've tried to reverse that, and whatever I'm feeling at the moment, I can put 100% of my passions into that painting. And I think I get better results that way, as opposed to waiting and then not feeling that oomph when the painting gets there. So that's what I try to go now. I probably will adjust and go, and you know, where did you start, Steve? Well, I started at the Contemporary Art Gallery in Paseo. That was my first art gallery 3.5 years ago. Contemporary Art Gallery in Paseo, which is now called Art on the Paseo. And then shortly thereafter, I got an opportunity to go into Paseo Gallery 1 in Paseo District here in Oklahoma City, and that's since closed. But while I was there and in Contemporary, I also entered a third gallery in Terra Rosa in Guthrie. And that's a fine art gallery up there in Guthrie. If you've never been, it's a great place to visit, a little small town action. And then I heard about Street Smarts. So I guess technically Street Smarts would be my fourth gallery that I've been in my career for the last 3.5 years. And just exploring different opportunities. I can be quite prolific at times, and I want to paint so many things that I think being in as many galleries as I can, and eventually integrating art shows, is kind of the direction for the next 3 to 5 years for me. I just finished a painting. It's an ice storm, and it's from the backside of Sutton Park in Norman. And so I was able to watch that video. I remember it was New Year's Day 2021. I was determined to run on New Year's Day. By God, I'm gonna get that exercise going. And it snowed and iced like 8 inches the night before. So anyway, I did it anyway, and I trampled through the snow and videotaped it. But on the backside, just this beautiful path that had just the, I mean, it's so quiet and peaceful when it freshly snows. You guys know how it is, and it just, I wanted to try to paint that feeling rather than paint a picture. And so it turns out I got 6 years of B-roll of nice sunsets and nature and all kinds of stuff. I can go back and watch my videos and pause. So sometimes you do things artistically and you don't know why you're doing it, and then it comes to fruition later. So this is one of those packages.